Hello, my name is Raluca. I'm the community builder of Grăuceanu. I'm glad to be together with you and also with Mihai. What is Grăuceanu? Grăuceanu is a platform for business angels that invest in tech startups. We have already 28 investments in our portfolio. One important component of our activity is education. And because of this, monthly we organize live sessions dedicated to both entrepreneurs and angel investors on interesting and useful topics. Today we have invited Mihai Dragnea. He is an angel investor, founder of This Is Retention, and a fresh father of a daughter. Mihai, welcome. Thank you for being with us. I'm glad to learn from you. And please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Raluca. Thank you, Grăuceanu, for this opportunity. And Raluca, thank you for mentioning about the latest wonder in the latest miracle in my and my wife's life. No words to describe. So, hello everybody. I'm glad to be here, and I think we can deep dive on the topic. We will talk about customer retention. For me, customer retention it's more than something like a business approach. It's more a passion, and you will I'm sure you will see it. I don't know, Raluca, if it's okay, based on the audience, to switch to Romanian, or we should keep speaking in English.
Well, our audience is, we have also Romanians, but people from other countries. It's
perfect.
We can stay on English. I think it's better.
Perfect. Thank you. And now let's move further with one thing about me. Actually, a couple. First of all, as you see, I'm keeping my promise. I'm the same like in the picture. I'm a proud Grăuceanu member and investor, and I founded This Is Retention, the first customer retention project in Romania, and I would dare to say in Eastern Europe, at least, authoring the book with the same name, which now has a kind of a the book is almost in its first year in school, almost 8 years, or 8 years, but it still shows that the baseline, it's very important, and the backbone of customer retention didn't change. I'm honored and more than humble to have 15 years of experience in customer management, from startup mindset to pre-IPO readiness. I covered multiple industries. I was lucky to cover multiple industries and business models, from telco to technology, banking, and multiple markets. I'm a PhD candidate in communication sciences, a master in brand management and corporate communication, and of course, with passion, graduated some strategy and product focus programs at some important universities, following my passion to better understand customer retention, customer management, and customer strategy. Now let's move to the agenda. But first of all, I will kindly ask Raluca to let me know how we should proceed with the questions. If we should take them, if we can take them live, as in if someone can talk, or only written. I think it's an important aspect to clarify with all of us, Raluca. If you could help us.
Yes, the comments and the questions are on me, so don't worry. When I will see a question that is related with the topic, I will put it on the screen and you can answer. And if you will have more questions, we can dedicate 5 minutes to a Q&A session in the end.
Perfect. Thank you, Raluca. And this was actually an invitation to all the participants to speak up if there is something that it's not clear or something that you don't agree with. I'm more than happy to answer, and you can stop me along the presentation, and we can debate and discuss. So the objective for today it's to share with humbleness and with passion some of the things I know about customer retention, and we will start with what I think is very important in customer retention, but not only defining customer retention, making it clear for everyone. Afterwards, of course, metrics, KPIs. We will look at some of the most important metrics. I will not focus on showing the formulas and discussing the formulas. This is a thing that you can do on your own. I know that the Grow Channel community is formed from out of very smart people. So I'm not talking about the formulas, but about the practical approach on the KPIs. On step 3, we will focus on a practical retention framework that I built thinking about especially about the technology products that are in the Grow Channel community. But of course, we can discuss and expand the discussion. And at the end, not least, live use cases. So if you have some challenges in your business, or if you come up with ideas during the presentation, feel free to write down some details and we can discuss live at the end of the presentation. Okay, so what another thing that I will underline a little bit. We will not focus today on as I mentioned, we will focus on the backbone of customer retention. We will not focus on particularities like what's the difference between B2B and B2C, how we should approach this based on different industries, different markets, or market maturity or business maturity. It's the backbone, but if you feel the need, I'm sure we can arrange other sessions. Okay, but why we should get serious about customer retention? The title was, yes, let's get serious about customer retention. And the starting almost anecdotes I know about customer retention for years is that acquiring a customer can cost 5 to 7 or 10 times more than retaining, depending on the source. It really depends. You can search this quote and you will find multiple sources. Or the most known and used and marketed and very well marketed, a 5% increase in customer retention can lead to a 25 to 95% increase in profits. Well, here I would just underline the idea that the benchmark it's quite wide. 25 to 95 for a 5% increase. It's something that I think we should focus more nowadays, where we are more precise. This estimate was actually done, if I remember correctly, somewhere in the 2013 or something like that. So long time ago, or 2003. It doesn't matter. So these are the numbers that you will see all over the place. These are the numbers that you will hear about. From my perspective, get practical about them. Don't take them for granted. And look in your business, not in a quote. Though, what I did manage to bring as statistics that are pretty recent, in US market, for example, customer churn costs providers $168 billion per year. So not percentages, $1 billion per year. 31% of consumers have switched brands because a company was lying about product performance, and I like very much this, and I think it's relevant for for any business that's building a product. And 50% of consumers would switch to a competitor after one bad customer experience. More than one bad customer experience, it's 80%. Of course, if the first two are pretty clear, they are based on numbers, clear numbers. 50% of consumer would switch. That's a perception. Metric. And my advice there is to take it with a grain of salt, but it's not far from truth. Think about yourself after you have a bad experience if you are thinking to get back to a business or to do business or to buy something. Now, let's define customer retention. The first step in defining customer retention, as you see, I kept my picture on the right side and the serious approach. So we have the problem. The real problem is the following. You will see multiple definitions, almost to the point where you have one blog, one article, and one customer retention definition. Again, multiple definitions on customer retention. You will see confusion between loyalty, retention, and engagement. You will see these terms switched and worked and written and spoken in any way. And I forgot customer experience, but yeah, that's another topic. Everything without a clear definition. And of course, something that's happening not only in customer retention, but here you will see that the impact it's a little bit higher, defining tactics and strategies and waiting for long-term results. Now, the solution, the straightforward, without so many words. Define your strategies, and this is the proposal from my side, and it's a strong approach from This is Retention. It is adapted from Francis Frey, professor at Harvard, but it says the following: you have in your business, and we all have in our businesses, 3 types of strategies you can work on: loyalty strategy, engagement, and customer retention. Customer loyalty, customer engagement, and customer retention. This metric, this framework, I adapted it to the product-focused business. So loyalty, invest in customers to grow. Engagements, invest in product to stick, to generate stickiness of the customers. And retention, pay customers to stay. What's very important is to underline a little bit. So in loyalty means investment in customers to make them grow, right? Just to give you an example, targeted communication, that can be a loyalty strategy, or what you should think twice if you want to do it, or avoid thinking about that. Loyalty points or loyalty cards. This is something I'm talking about, and I won't stop. I'm talking about for years, and I won't stop talking, because I truly believe that loyalty is not about the number of cards you have. Engagement, it became more and more important as our customers are looking into product focused. They're focused to a product, whether it's an application on the mobile or another product. Generate stickiness, generate the engagement, irrespective of what that engagement means. And retention, finally, what is retention? Retention is a strategy that pays customers to stay. Now, clarifying a little bit. The main differentiator for a customer retention strategy is a customer's intention to churn, meaning that it's just like in a relationship. If you are happy, you won't churn. You don't want to churn, I don't have anything to retain. So it's important to underline a customer retention strategy. It's a strategy focused on avoiding churn from customers that intend to churn. Avoiding churn from customers that do not intend to churn is losing money. And we will talk a little bit about that. Okay, the main differentiator versus loyalty. Loyalty, it's a strategy that looks at the long-term approach for generating customer growth. The impact cannot be now. If for example, I'm doing a dedicated communication or I'm doing a membership program, the impact, you will see the impact in a different time frame. Where for retention, the impact is now. Imagine that you are calling your Wi-Fi provider and you are saying, I want to quit, I want to stop providing the services. That's a moment where you express your intention to churn, and if that provider manages to retain you, it can do it on the spot, only on the spot. When you called and you said, yes, I want to churn, that's the only moment that counts. That's a type of approach. And the differentiator versus the engagement strategy, I'm calling it silent churn. And you will see at the end that it's pretty linked with this point. What does it mean, silent churn? It's a customer that's churning without telling you, and this is something that's specific for product companies, and also but also for service companies. It's quitting, it's churning, but you don't know. Actually, the majority of the customers that are dissatisfied with a company are not saying anything, are not complaining at all. Now, moving further, what happens if you are looking at the confusion part? If everything is confused, right? If you are mixing the engagement and the loyalty strategy and the retention strategy. Exactly what I mentioned earlier. Develop loyalty programs and expect lower churn immediately. That won't happen. Invest in product to generate engagement and expect to save money immediately. That won't happen. A confused customer retention program will generate money loss immediately. As I mentioned, just as an example, if we are moving from the idea that the customer retention strategy is a strategy that is focused on customers that will churn, and it's focused on paying customers not to churn, for example, an offer. If you are going with an offer, a discount offer to a customer that is not willing to churn, that's losing money. Moving further, the first framework I'm proposing, it's something that I built based on years of continuous research and also with academic rigor. Before being a PhD candidate in communication science, I worked close with a great statistics professor, Mr. Mihaitsa, and we had some academic articles that were rewarded, and it's also validated by customers. So here it's the customer retention strategies needs. It's a framework that says the following, that was built for the following. First, we asked specialists, customer retention specialists, what's important for them. Afterwards, we also asked customers what's important for them, and they overlapped. And I will go through each one of it just to briefly underline the importance, and we can discuss furthermore other details, and let's dive in. Before diving in, I want to set up the stage a little bit, because it's important to understand. Okay, you saw the strategy, right? You saw the needs, but how does it move into practice? And into practice, the proposal is to have a setup, a checklist. Step 1, identify the churn decision moment, not the churn moment. So focus on understanding when the customer decided to churn, not when the customer is announcing you that will churn, or when the customer, when you find out if a customer churned or not. So try to think of the decision moment. Identify the churn type, if it's loud or silent. This is, I also have a nice story here. While doing the documentation for the framework I presented earlier, I read some books, and one of that was Loyalty, Voice, and Exit, written in 1970s. Although it sounds a long time ago, the backbone didn't change. The loud, and it's the customer behavior that it's the same. Loud churn means that the customer comes and says, I want to quit. Silent churn, the customer doesn't say anything. Or loud churn can also mean I'm dissatisfied, right? I'm dissatisfied. This should be the first signal. In the retention strategy, you have two big approaches: reactive retention and proactive retention. Reactive retention is the approach you are preparing to be ready to manage customers that are telling you that they will churn. My example earlier, I'm calling the Wi-Fi provider, I'm telling I want to close my contract. Or in online, for example, in subscriptions, I'm going online to cancel my, I don't know, any product subscription that I have in online. There, I'm activating a flow. Take Amazon Prime, for example, right? That's a reactive approach. I'm doing something reactive because I'm seeing a type of behavior that moves the customer to churn. Proactive retention setup, they are working hand in hand. Proactive focuses more on being one step ahead, focuses more on being predictive, and on being proactive, as it says, being proactive when contacting customers that do have churn risk. Just an example of customers with churn risk. If you have a product, you see that a customer logged in daily for 40 days and afterwards started to log in twice a week, afterwards every 2 weeks, afterwards twice a month, that's every 2 weeks, every 2 months, and so on. The idea is simple. You are seeing a decrease, you are seeing a behavior that's showing you a tendency to quit. And of course, launch and test. I won't focus right now. We can discuss if there are questions. I'm happy to take them. So taking step by step, again, the customer retention strategies needs. Know your customers, and this is adapted for technology startups. You will see that's something very focused. Forget about age or size segmentation, especially if you are a consumer-focused business. Please forget about age segmentation. It's something that it's valid for big businesses, right? Where you need to manage big cohorts, right? I know retail, largely retail, yes, where you want to and you need to manage large cohorts of customers. But for startups, don't look at age. That's number one recommendation. Number two, start with behavioral segmentation. You have the power to look at the product usage. Behavior segmentation goes two ways. One, on the product usage, that I think that's gold if you are thinking from that perspective. And when you have a number of customers, you can try and look at other types of approaches, but you look at behavioral segmentation, at customer behavior, and segment customers if you have a relevant number of customers to segment, but otherwise look at the customer behavior of the product. Number 3, to create a difference, you need to dream about how much the customers paid, for what, how much was the discount, and what features they received. Knowing your customers in the product business means also this, especially as a startup. Again, if you are scaling, if you are moving to a large number of customers, things are changing completely. You need a parameterization, you need benchmarks, you need age, you need size. But when you are a startup, you need to focus on what you have on your side, and it's particularly something that can help you. Adaptability to customer feedback, both internal and external. Forget about spending money on research platform or programs. It's pretty simple. Again, being at the beginning gives you the opportunity to take care of your costs, first of all, and second, to talk with your customers. Make a call your customers day. That's rule number 2, and you will get more valuable insights than any standard survey. Don't forget, surveys are perception-based numbers, so they can change. But calling a customer, talking, deep diving, it's very important. And try to call all of them. Don't forget about one. Even if you are switching and you are not able to cover all of them in one day, call the customers. To create a difference from the adaptability perspective, know the customer's potential. We all know about customer personas, but the tendency is to create a persona and kind of forget about it. Try to start with your persona and do continuous reality checks. Okay, this is my persona. I'm looking at, I'm taking a cohort of customers. Is my persona matching the cohort of customers? How much? With what 1%? What percentage? And that gives you the engine to be adaptable. Power to influence customers' decision. That's very important. This is very important, as I mentioned. Especially when we are startups. Forget about roles and responsibilities. Any team member should be empowered to retain a customer. That's clear. If a customer says to the engineer, for example, if you have let's say you have 2 people for support, 3 engineers, and the CFO and the CEO. It doesn't matter where the customer makes a complaint. It doesn't matter where it happens. It's very important, as I mentioned earlier, to be in the now. When the customer says, I want to churn, I'm dissatisfied, you need to be prepared. Raluca, I'm hearing you.
Very good. Yeah, I'm hearing you too.
Perfect. Okay. Just okay. Afterwards, start considering that you have a churn moment. As I mentioned, start considering that when you have a churn moment, you should act like it's now or never. That's it. It is, as I mentioned earlier. And as we remembered from the process example from earlier, the only objective of the offer is to be relevant to the customer. That's it. It's no other objective. of course, beyond the objective of retaining the customer. Fourth, freedom on how to address customers. What does this say? Forget about standardized offers. They are boring, especially when you are a startup, especially when you are the beginning of the road, especially when you are able to focus on a customer. Standardized offers are not for startups. From my perspective, you should go out and make a personalized offer to the customer. The second rule, start with this mindset. If I retain a customer, I make money I would otherwise lose. That's very important about having the freedom of how to address the customer, because it's about the mindset. There are anecdotes saying that you need to retention strategies can generate money loss. If you are tackling and defining correctly your strategy, a customer that won, it's a revenue won. It's not lost. Otherwise, even if we have 70% discount, for example, that's revenue you win. We will not dive on what does it mean to what are the costs of retention and so on. Again, we are looking at the backbone. Don't wait for the churn moment, act on the decision moment. Underlined again what I mentioned earlier. Generate change. So from the research, it's very important to underline that both specialists and customers said it's important that with the strategies, of course, customers didn't know about the strategies, but I processed the answers. With these strategies, it's not enough to give me a discount now and not solve the problem. So don't forget about churn reasons. It's pretty simple. When a customer says, I want to churn, ask why. Afterwards, transform churn reasons into ideas and actions that generate change. When a customer says, I'm churning because I'm dissatisfied of this feature in your product, try to fix it. If you are giving a discount today, it's okay that you achieve the objective of retaining the customer. But if you are not fixing that feature or upgrading it, you won't win the customer for the long term. And to create a difference here, what you save after retaining a customer, investing in solving the root cause I mentioned earlier. Don't be happy, oh yay, I have some cash flow. No, take those money, invest in solving the problem. This is a solid long-term retention strategy. Okay, if there are any questions until now, Raluca. I'm sorry, I cannot see. Okay.
No, not really.
Okay. Now, the metrics, the KPIs, what really matters. So let's deep dive in specific metrics. Annual recurring revenue, ARR. Again, we are not talking about the formula. We are looking in a practical way on what does it say. For someone seeing this number, it says if your business model is suitable for long term, if your customers trust you. This is the part that it's not said behind the numbers. Recommended mostly for subscription recurrent business models. Suitable primarily for a yearly pricing model, of course, but not exclusively. There are discussions. Don't inflate its importance if your business is less than 1 or 2 years old. I've seen cases, I've seen pitches where this number was inflated. Oh, we have 90% annual recurring revenue. Okay, and for how long do you have your business? For 9 months. Okay. So focus on looking at it. It's important, but don't inflate its importance. CLV or CLTV, customer lifetime value. It's a metric that's kind of, I don't know. I know the metric. I know this metric for, I think from the beginning of my career in customer retention was a long time ago. So it's not a very new metric, but it is still used. In principle, it's focused more on the potential. What's the potential of your customers? It's more used as a predictive metric. Like, okay, um, how much can you bring from a customer if a customer would stay with you for a number of years? And there are some formulas behind. For a startup, for a perspective, an investor perspective, look at it, try to look at it more from the CAC to LTV ratio. And if you are also, if you can search for IPO listed companies, for IPO companies, you will see that this is an interesting metric. It's an interesting metric for both consumer and enterprise businesses, mostly for consumer focused businesses, but not exclusively. And reality check for this metric. In the rise of predictive modeling, automation, AI, it might become obsolete at one moment in time. Right? Predict, it's a formula that predicts the future revenue from your customers. Well, we have algorithms doing that. Okay, retention rate. You will hear a lot about the retention rate. Usually it is confused with the renewal rate, where the renewal rates show percentage of customers or revenue renewing out of your customer base. For example, I have 1,000 customers that are 90% are renewing. That's my renewal rate, right? What it should say. Out of customers who reflect their willingness to churn, how many did you manage to retain? So, retention rate should be a measure of an operational measure of your retention program, retention strategy. Do not confuse it with renewal rate, right? I will focus on the next slide for it. So retention rate, measure proactive and reactive retention performance. If you remember the example I provided a little bit earlier with the steps, that this is something you should look at. For example, it's for measuring operational performance and should be differentiated based on proactive and reactive retention. We can discuss further on this, but just to give you a simple example, you have 100 customers calling and saying to the Wi-Fi provider and saying, I want to quit. You are retaining 60 of them. That's the retention rate. And it means that 40 of them are churning. But when you are looking at your entire customer base, you have 1,000 customers. So 40% are churning, the other 1,000 are staying with you. For example, in the monthly model, right? That means that your renewal rate is much higher than your retention. Now, focusing on the renewal rate, again, it's both for revenue and number of customers. Churn rate is simply the opposite of renewal rate. That should be, or the other way around. Just choose your number, but renewal rate and churn rate are like brothers. Hopefully, renewal rate is the bigger brother or sister. Rule number 1, recommended for product churn, revenue churn, and customer churn or renewal, but mostly on churn. Customer churn doesn't come lonely. If I can try a Romanian English approach. So it's not the Furculision earlier. It's marvelous. So the customer will finally churn from the billing perspective, but from the revenue perspective, and he will stop being your customer. But depending on the product, on the business model, it's also important to understand that there is a journey in churn. First, you start using the product less, then you are switching from subscription to freemium, and then you churn. You should measure all of that. Suitable for almost any type of business. That's important. This is important, and you should take this into account and measure it like you mean it. Understand the internal results, adapt your external efforts. What does it mean? If you take a look at some IPO companies, you will see variations of the renewal rate. I don't know, annual renewal rate or blended renewal rate or any other types of metrics. What's important for a startup? Measure it like you mean it, look at the reality, and also take into account that even though on renewal rate you might not be the best in class, maybe you have some segments on renewal rate on the entire customer base. You might not be best in class, but you might have some segments where you are the best, and you should mention that out loud. One of my favorites, NPS. It's probably it can be taught for as marketing lesson in any school in this world, irrespective of the time, because this is the customer satisfaction metric that was marketed perfectly, but it's just another satisfaction metric, and it clearly says you want to have more promoters. Net promoter score, this is the NPS, says as following: you have detractors that do not like your product, you have the neutral ones, and you have promoters. There is also something around this score that says that if you have a certain score, you will have some certain revenue or revenue increase. There are multiple discussions around that. My personal conclusion is that it's a good metric, but take it with a grain of salt. It is the most used customer satisfaction indicator worldwide. So it's a you can benchmark based on that, using this, right, to compare with other companies. But it's suitable for perception. It does not predict revenue, especially in startups, or it does not show the satisfaction reason if it's not follow up with a call, with another question, and so on. And I'm underlining again, it's just a metric. Don't make decisive business decisions based on it.
Mihai, we have a comment. Let me see what is about. Will the recording be available? Yes, Neil, the recording will be available on our social media platforms where we host this live session. So LinkedIn, YouTube, you can find it and see it again this weekend.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving to something very specific, creating focus, a practical retention framework. I worked on it for technology products. It's pretty fresh, so it's open to feedback. It's open to talking about it and to really make the most of it. The baseline. You want to find the customer decision moment, not the moment you find out about it. And focus your resources on product engagement. Step 1, define your minimum and maximum product usage journey. What do I mean by that? Minimum acceptable product usage journey, meaning that your customer logs in, activates, for example, minimum 2 features, and that's your minimum. If a customer does below that, something doesn't work. Step number 2, set up your no way back product engagement mix. What does it mean? What do I want to say here? No way back means that the customer is so engaged with your product that it will not churn anymore. It's clear. It's based on numbers, it's based on usage, it's based on everything. Step 3, create customer cohorts by mixing minimum and maximum product journey. Afterwards, set up a product churn alert and no way back alert. So if you established, for example, your minimum product usage journey, if something goes below, that's your product churn alert. If you've added your maximum product usage journey, and of course the no way back product engagement can be here, or it's a business decision. Set up an alert where a customer arrives at that moment, right? And step 5, contact the customers. Take good care of this, especially as you are a startup, you have the capability to do so, right? Okay, so what will be the outcome? And some examples, right? No way back, what does it mean? Horizontal development, for example, number of users. The customer is increasing the number of users if it's an enterprise. Vertical development, right? Features, modules adoption, right? Or it depends on how you look at the idea. The core idea is the same. And time development, minimum X days with or weeks with continuous usage. These are some examples. Maximum engagement, as I mentioned, using all features with the desired recurrence and with the maximum number of users. What would be the main outcome, actually? You would have top product usage, meaning that for those customers, you can apply loyalty strategies, so you can start building their way to growth. If they do not have any other, it's quite simple actually. If they do not have any other possibility to grow, you need to reward them and prepare them for your product developments. Medium product usage, where it's pretty simple. You want to engage them. You want to give them more product, talk about the product features, give them incentives to use the product more. Low product usage, that goes on proactive retention. I'm calling the customer, I'm doing something proactively. No product usage, even if the process is not from the customer like per se, when the customer stops using the product, it's the same thing like telling you, I want to quit. I'm quitting right now. So you need to move to a reactive retention approach. Just a short differentiator. Reactive retention means that the customer almost left, or it's clearly outside your business, and you need to. It will cost more. Proactive retention means that the customer is still with you, and it will cost a little bit less. This is another discussion. And I think we are ready to also take some use cases or questions if there are any. And I was inspired when I saw this picture because it's looking like a startup, and the challenges any startup has.
For the moment, we don't have questions. It looks like you are crystal clear in explaining the customer retention, the perfect customer retention approach.
Okay, we can wait for another 30 seconds. So feel free if you have any questions, any ideas, you can write them down, or without sharing any contact details, I'm available on LinkedIn, and you can contact me there to have a chat or to answer with humbleness and with passion any of your questions.
Okay, I will create a banner to show it here. So do you have an email address or something to be?
Yes, you can write to mihai.dragna@thisisretention.com. Or on LinkedIn, and my profile is available. Thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to underline a little bit something that I said before. Think of your customer retention strategy as the strategy that is the most effective when your customer is about to leave, when the customer has the intention to churn. Otherwise, think loyalty, think engagement. So some of the things I want to take this moment. I want to really say thank you to all the people that throughout my career stood by me, and I've learned from them. I owe them a lot, and also to the ones that are standing by me nowadays, colleagues and partners. I'm learning from them every day, every second. Also, special thanks to Madalina. She knows, and she's guiding me with the project. And last but not least, thank you to Grow Channel. It's been an honor, a pleasure, and to A Space, with which were great today. Imagine I wouldn't have been able to make this presentation pretty silent, in a silent way. So they were extremely flexible with their co-working space, and in kind of minutes they solved everything. And their co-working spaces are pretty great. You should take a look. And again, thank you to Grow Channel. Thanks to the Grow Channel community. Uh, I'm telling you, it's great to be part of.
Thank you, Mihai. Your presentation been awesome. We are, as you know, we are a community here at Grow Channel, and customer retention is important also for us. And yeah, this specific contact your client and get in touch with him and have surveys and interviews are it's something very important for a community, but for any kind of business. And being in the operational time with the team, we are trying to find all kind of solution and to think forward without giving a call to our clients and ask them how they are and what they wish to have in place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder.
Thank you, Raluca, and I can confirm that this happens. Actually, when I was onboarded in Grow Channel, this happened because I was called after an interaction, and Adi at that moment, whom I want to thank publicly because he's a role model in everything that's doing. Based on a call, I managed to make the first step, and it was irreplaceable. So again, underlining what also Raluca said, call your customers, listen to your customers, especially when you are startups. You have the possibility to do so. As I mentioned, presentation is focused on startups approach. If you arrive at a place where you are a big business, yes, you need to have standardized approach. You need to look at segmentation in age, in location, and so on, or in other ways. But when you are a startup, focus on building your product and your services with the winner mindset.
Great. I think we have reached the end of this live session. Thank you, Mihai, for being with us and for preparing such a nice presentation. It's full of great insights. We will send the presentation. If you will share it with us, I will send it via email to our entrepreneurs. And also the video, it's available on YouTube and also LinkedIn.
Thank you very much, Raluca, for hosting this event and for inviting me and underlining anything that I can help with. I'm just a click away, and probably we could do it again, focusing on another topic like loyalty or engagement, or focusing more on customer retention on specific industries, or with some practical examples. Thank you again.
Yeah, customer engagement. It's a hot topic, so we can meet next time and discuss about the engagement, because we all need engagement.
Yes.
Thank you, Mihai, for being with us.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
See
and a great
soon.
day whenever you are listening this and looking at this event. See you soon.
Indeed. Bye.
Bye-bye.